The Joe Rogan Experience.
So were you pissed off when that Louis C.K. recording got released and comics were denouncing it?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it's a bummer. First of all, a lot of people were like, these aren't even jokes. He's not even joking anymore. And you're like, no, they're jokes. Like, I understand if you're don't like it or you're offended, but you're like, they're definitely jokes. He's on stage. He doesn't really think that they threw a fat kid in front of them. And that's not how he feels.
Right. He's saying something that's fucked up and funny. And it's funny because it's fucked up, because you're not supposed to say it, which is the exact thing he's done his whole career.
Right. And it's a new bit. It wasn't supposed to be heard outside of there.
It wasn't done. And for these people, look, there's a lot of times you'll say something one way and then you're like, it's not working. And then you'll figure out another way to sneak in through the back door and it works way better. And then if they heard the first way and like, this joke sucks, like, no, I figured out how to say it later, but now it's already on YouTube. You've ruined the material.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped the bit because it's just kind of like...
Yeah, it's out there too much.
But
he had a fucking hilarious line. If you ever want people to forget about you jerking off, make jokes about kids getting shot.
Yeah, he does that. There's also a funny line where he's like, why are you in a suit? Which is funny. But yeah, and then people were talking about how now the parents have to hear this and stuff, and you're like, well, they weren't going to. You took it and put it out, and then CBS picked it up and put it on CBS. So now they're hearing it. But before that, there was just 180 people in Long Island hearing it. And
yeah, which is what it was supposed to be. But the thing about working on material is if you like comedy, you can't release people's shit like that, because you're never going to get good comedy. Because everyone's gonna, like, every time Dave Chappelle does a workout set, or anybody, you're gonna get these half-cooked bits, and then you're gonna release them, and it's gonna ruin it for you. It's gonna ruin it for the people that listen. It's like, for the people that are in the room, that's for them.
Right.
If you're taking it out, like, and there's been a lot of talk about Louis making this copyright thing, saying that, that they will take legal action if you print or you do anything to record or do anything to put the material online.
Right.
And someone's saying he can't do that. I'm like, well, why can't he do that? The difference between that and music, like if you go to hear someone sing a song and you write down the lyrics, go, oh my God, Gary Clark Jr. has this amazing new song, here's the lyrics, that doesn't ruin the song.
Right.
But if you say, oh, he's got this hilarious joke and the twist is he says this, well, you just fucked that bit up for everyone that's ever going to listen to it or read that.
Right. Yeah, it's frustrating. It was frustrating. And then people start being like, he's alt-right now. He's going to do it. And you're like, no, he's not.
People are goddamn crazy. But the comedians that denounced it were embarrassing. It's like, do you not know what a workout set is? Do you understand this guy was out of comedy for almost a year? Do you know that this guy was doing a fucking hour after being out of comedy for almost a year? Fuck you. Stop pretending that what you do is different. Stop. And so many people were doing it, and it turned out that they had a bunch of jokes that were awful, or about a mass shooting,
right,
or about pulling your dick out in front of someone, or about anything along those lines.
It's also a bad precedent to start, where I'm like, do we really want to start publicly shitting on comics' unfinished bits?
Exactly.
That seems like, because I don't want that.
No,
people
especially
are like, I saw a list at fucking Cellar, and he's got this hack, and you're like, oh, give me a moment, or tell me behind closed doors that like my bit's hacky or something.
How long is a bit ready before, like, do you have a Comedy Central special? You have something, right?
I have a Netflix half hour and I did a Comedy Central half hour.
Okay. So how long did you have to work on those bits before you were ready to put them on Comedy Central or Netflix?
Quite a while. I like to do a bit at least 3 months before it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to be
at the very
cooked.
least.
At the very least.
Yeah, yeah.
And it depends on the bit, right? Some bits are pretty fucking good a couple weeks in.
Yeah, yeah.
And other bits are... I've got a couple bits in my act now, and I'm like, this motherfucker needs an overhaul, and I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I've had bits that I've done for 2 years, and then you finally find a line, you're like, there we go, that was it. And then you're like, now it's more of a bit.
Exactly.
Because it takes time to figure it out. And but yeah, it's comics should... But I understand people hate Louis and they're going to hate him. So whatever he does or says,
I don't even believe they hate
upset.
him. I don't believe it. You know what I think a lot of it is? I think people are justifiably upset at the idea of him jerking off in front of women that didn't want him to. There's a couple factors to that, though. One is that he asked. Yeah, it's a weird thing to want to do, jerk off in front of people, but he asked. And a lot of these stories, the way you're getting the version of it, it's like worst case scenario. It's like he blocked the door. He didn't block any doors.
Right.
And they were laughing. Like, people were joking around. Like, it became this traumatic thing years later, talking about it after the fact. But then on top of that, it's like, God, don't you think the guy has suffered enough? Like, when is he suffering enough? You see this lack of empathy with people where they don't even want to respect that he's a human being. They don't want to appreciate any of his old work. They don't want to. They don't have anything that he could do that would make them just go, all right, well, I know you're not going to do that again, and you seem like a reasonable person. It's like, you can't be your past. You're not the guy who shit in that sneaker, right? You're Joe List today.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody wants to be remembered for the worst thing they did.
I think it's just a thing where they know it's an easy target. I really do. I think at a certain point in time, people just decide that this is a guy that you can take a free shot at, and you can shit on him, and you can attribute things to him that aren't true. You can attribute a bunch of things to him that are not accurate.
Right.
And it's easy, like calling him alt-right, or saying Louis C.K. showing his true colors now. Jesus Christ, go back and watch his bit about hitting a deer. Okay?
Right.
I mean, it's a fucking ridiculous, really funny material, and that's what I enjoyed about his act.
Right.
That bit, if left alone, I mean, it's out of his act now, but if left alone, in X amount of time, he would have crafted that into a great bit. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I agree.
And there was a bunch of shitty fucking half-ass comics that came out and were talking trash about it. And I was like, you guys should shut the fuck up, because this whole art form is about trial and error. This whole art form is about being able to work. It's one of the rare things that we need a crowd in order for these things to come alive. We need it.
And you have to take chances. I just saw, ironically, with Louis, we went and saw Apocalypse Now during the Tribeca Film Festival. And Francis Ford Coppola was there, and he came out and he spoke about the film beforehand and after. And Robert Duvall was also there, and he came out and went, wow. "Charlie, don't surf." It was amazing. And it was really unbelievable. But Coppola was talking after the film, and he was like, I don't know if you know the whole story about Apocalypse Now, like that documentary Hearts of Darkness, which is amazing. And like he put like his house up for sale to like, or put everything on the line to make the movie himself. And he was just talking about you have to take chances with art. He's like, there's no art without taking big chances.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're taking a chance by doing a joke. I mean, I wouldn't do a joke about the Parkland shooting, but
I wouldn't either. But
you know, it's a risk, and it might go bad, and it went well. He got laughs.
Yeah, it got laughs.
But certainly, if you take anything outside of
a comedy club,
and put it out in the public, it's not for those people. It's for the people that bought the ticket.
Well, it's also in context of the experience of being in a comedy club, having a couple drinks, and watching a hilarious guy talk some shit, especially a guy coming back after a national scandal, not worldwide scandal.
Yes.
You know, and it's just, look, I wouldn't joke around about them getting shot either, but one of the things that made that bit work was that, yes, it was a horrible tragedy. Yes, those kids went through that. Yes, they're teenagers. Yes, they're trying to figure out life, and they're being interviewed on CNN, and some of them are changing their opinions, and they're developing and growing as we speak. But like one of them, like the David Hogg guy, he wrote "fuck the patriarchy" on his Twitter the other day. Like, that was his tweet. Like, and not even as a joke. Like, that's an 18-year-old. That's what kids do. Right?
Yeah.
They say silly shit. That's why the bit worked. Because he was like, why are you interesting?
Right.
You know, like, why do I have to hear from you? But, well, you have to hear from them because their friends got shot. I mean, but no one, obviously, like, that's not, this is not a conversation. This is stand-up comedy. It's an art form and saying things that are funny that are fucked up. That's part of the art form. And if you deny that, you just that's not the kind of comedy you like, or you don't appreciate what comedy is.
Yeah, and also it's a weird thing where I'm like, I'm for those kids. I'm like, yeah, it's great. Like, this horrible thing happened, and you're like, we're going to use what power we have. I'm like, I think that's great.
Yes.
And they might actually fucking do something. I mean, it's like they're making changes, and I'm like, that's like fucking power to the people. God bless you. But I can still laugh at a joke about it. It's still funny to me to see someone be like, why are you in a suit? Both things can exist. You can have empathy for murder victims and even be like rooting for me, like, wow, that's amazing what these kids are doing. or
and
these
still
young
laugh
people
at
are
a
doing,
joke.
and still be like, it's funny.
It's funny. Look, it's not his best joke, but it wasn't done, you fucks. And here's the other thing. Like, do you know who Brian Holtzman is?
I don't think so.
You got to see him when you're in town, if you can. He's fucking hilarious. He's a legitimate maniac. He's a legend in Los Angeles. When I started the Comedy Store in '94, he was already there. And he's really fucking funny. But do you remember when Susan Smith drowned her kids? That lady, she pushed her fucking car into the river or something and drowned her kids?
No, but it sounds hilarious.
He was on stage a very short amount of time afterwards going, "Ladies and gentlemen, I heard those were bad kids." He goes, "I heard they sat that close to the TV. They never put away their blocks. They're always spilling their fucking milk. Those kids will not be missed."
Yeah.
And you were just like, what? It's not. He didn't really think those were bad kids.
Yeah,
it's a fucked up thing to say that happens to be funny.
Yeah.
And you might not be into that kind of humor. That's okay.
Well, that's part of, I think, what comedy is, or has always been, is saying a thing you're not supposed to say. That's like, to me, the very idea of comedy.
Yes.
Is you're saying abnormal things.
Right, like you talking about coming in your own face and whatever.
Yeah.
Or someone coming in your face.
Yeah, you're not supposed to express your sexually desires so openly.
It's not that you really mean that.
I do not.
It's funny, right? Right?
I think so.
Right?
It was attempted to be funny.
It's an art form that is often cited or quoted as if it's a statement. You know, like, he said this. Like, he said that on stage in a comedy club as a part of a big giant chunk about this.
Right.
And you're taking it out of context and you do it in the worst possible way. You put it in print. Of course it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Of course it looks terrible in print because it's not in a comedy club and it's not in context. It's like that has no relationship to the actual bit itself. Your print version of it, it's not. It's a lie. You should go to jail for saying that's the joke. You're a liar. You're a liar. You're defaming someone. You're taking what they were doing and you're pretending that what they were saying is what they mean.
Right.
You know that's not what they mean.
That's
but you
like,
don't care.
Remember that Lenny Booth, and that's in the movie Lenny, I think, where he talked about they were like reading his act.
Yes.
And he's like, but you're not saying it right. You gotta let me say it.
Exactly. It's the same thing. Look, no one thinks school shootings are a good thing. No one does. No one does. They're doing jokes about it because we know it's a horrible tragedy. That's why jokes work. And they don't work because you're mean. They don't work because you're horrible. They work because everyone knows you're joking. If everybody really thought you were a horrible person and you were happy that people got shot, they wouldn't laugh at a goddamn thing you said.
Right.
It's a fucking weird art form. It's a weird art form. And for it to be dismantled and disrespected the way it is, where people break down people's bits and take them out of context like that, it's so foolish. And the fact that people don't stand up for it, that are in the art form itself, that drives me fucking crazy. It drove me angry. There's a bunch of people that I won't even talk to anymore. I'm like, I'm not talking to you anymore. Like, this is what you're going to do if I do a bit that's half-cooked and then you're going to talk shit about me?
Right.
Like, this, you're doing this for your own favor. You're not doing this for the art form. You're not an empathetic person. You're not looking at him as a human being, saying, well, clearly the guy fucked up. He made some mistakes. And, that bit was good. But look, if you listen to that set, that's a good set, especially for a guy who's been out of comedy for almost a fucking year.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot stronger.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
He's a hilarious comedian. I mean, he's going to get to a point where he's got a real motherfucker of an hour, and then someone's going to have to figure out whether or not they're willing to take a chance and put it on.
Well, it's like you were talking about earlier, too. I mean, you can also just put it on
YouTube,
his website or YouTube or whatever.
Yes. I hope he does that. It's this idea that he should be punished for eternity. It's like, what are we, Catholics? Like, what's going on here? Like, what is this? What did he do? I mean, he did something that wound up costing him $35 million, massive public shame, still to this day, it's almost like 2 years later. What is it, like a year and a half now?
Yes, November 2017.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck? Like, what do you want him to do? I mean, we're not talking about Harvey Weinstein here, and this idea that you're not even supposed to compare offenders. You're not supposed to make judgment calls. Well, of course you are. That's why some people go to jail for life, and some people go to jail for 2 years. And this is the reason why we have lesser punishments for lesser crimes.
Right. Yeah, there's a system in place.
If you ask people if you can jerk off in front of them and they say no, and you don't jerk off in front of them, good for you. You got some restraint. If you ask people if you can jerk off in front of them and they say yes and you do it, like, maybe it's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
But you're not Bill Cosby, okay? To say that you're not supposed to make these comparisons, it's like, this is a loaded subject too, right? Like, we're talking about this, and I see you're nervous.
Oh yeah, I'm terrified. But yeah, no, I love Louis.
I love Louis too.
He's
a great comic.
Yeah, he's a great guy also. But yeah, I understand people are upset.
I get it, but I think it's disproportionate. I really do. You know,
I would agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. But yeah.
How long do you think it's going to be before people just let it go?
Well, I think there's actually the group of people that are really upset about it. I think it's probably like 250,000 people.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, but there's like 300 million people in the country. Maybe it's less than 250,000. I think it's the minority.
So do you think most people are like, he did something crazy? But the other thing is, like, you want to kind of see the guy who jerked off in front of women, so people want to go see him live.
I mean, he's a great comic stuff, but I mean, the shows, I mean, I'll read Twitter and stuff. Sometimes I'll go on, we'll hang out and I'll just search his name to see. Like one time we went out to eat in New York and there was a kid, you know, like a hipstery kid. He looks similar to me, actually. But like a young kid, and he stopped and just like stared at us and was like, and he started taking photos and then he left. And then I looked up Louis' name on Twitter and I found the kid. Yeah. And he wrote, just all caps, just gave Louis the finger, which he didn't. He didn't give us the finger.
Hilarious.
And then he wrote
virtue signaling.
And then he wrote, attention NYU students, this is all caps, Louis C.K. is in the neighborhood. Make him uncomfortable! Exclamation point. God. We were like, that's like psychotic.
But that's what I was talking about earlier, that I think he's a target. And I think they just decide that this is what they're going to do now. And like that guy was saying that he gave you the finger when he didn't. The virtue signaling aspect of it is one of the weirdest parts about social media, because these people that ordinarily, like in a real world scenario, you have an opportunity to say something if you really feel so compelled. The guy's right in front of you. You don't say shit. And then you get online and tell other people to do it?
Right.
Other people to make them uncomfortable?
Well, for the most part, yeah, we'll go around and it's the weird thing about online. Most people are much different in person because you realize it's a human being. I think the natural thing is like, oh, this is a person.
Exactly.
And then, you know, we'll go to like these kind of hipstery coffee shops where you think that kind of person would be, and he goes, "Hi, how are you? Can I get a and they go, "Oh, sure, yeah." And that nobody. Right. I mean, people get dirty looks and stuff here and there,
course.
But there's way more online than not online. But
that's always going to be the case.
The shows are all selling out, and there's a few people outside.
Has he ever talked to those people outside, or does he just get in?
No, I don't think so.
How does he get in?
This is kind of a back door. We just went in the back, and you know, good for them. I think that they're misguided, like you said, but
yeah, I think they want him to be this evil person they should be protesting against. But I think if you look at it on paper, what he did was just not good. It's like it's you know, the worst that I had heard was that some people's careers had suffered because they were talking about it.
Right.
And that but I don't know how much of that is accurate. I need to find out about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know the whole thing. I always feel like I love Louis. He's one of my best friends now, which is weird to say, but we're close. But I don't really begrudge the women. I think that two different people can have the same experience and take different things from it, feel different ways.
That's true.
And I understand sexuality is weird. So like they could, in the moment, and his perception might be, well, they said yes. And I think he kind of talks about this a little bit on stage. And I don't want to tell his feelings, his stories to tell. But I think one person can be like, I thought they were saying yes and they're into it. And those women can feel, yeah, we kind of said yes, but we felt fucked up and pressured. Two people can have the same experience and have different perspectives. So I don't begrudge any of the women. I understand that they are hurt and feel mistreated. And
well, even if you say yes, you're still, and you see something you didn't want to see, you're like, whoa, and then you can never unsee it. Yes. It's like it's in your head.
Yeah, I understand they're affected by it. But
does he ever jerk off in front of you?
No, I keep asking.
You won't do it?
No, I asked him to come.
Maybe
he
has to ask first. Maybe that's his thing.
No, maybe I blew it.
Yeah, maybe you have to like play shy.
Yeah.
Say, you know what I would hate if you jerked off in front of me? Say like drop hints.
Yeah, maybe I will. But But he's a good person and a great dad, and I love him. I love the guy.
Yeah, everybody wants to erase everything he's ever done. It's so like, didn't FX like not just cancel it, but they made the show unavailable?
Yeah, I think you can get it on iTunes, but yeah, it's done. And then I think he's still on Netflix though.
Yeah,
you can still see it. But
yeah, you can still see it. But they canceled the new one that he was going to do.
Yeah, he's supposed to do. And then Pets 2, they dropped.
They got rid of him.
Yeah, so it was a bummer. But it's weird. But people, I mean, shouldn't we be empathetic to all people?
Yes, I think we should. I think we should, and I think, maybe it would serve him if he went out and talked about it extensively, like had a conversation about it, like maybe videotaped it or something. I mean, I don't know. Like if people had his take on it other than that little letter that he wrote right after it happened.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help.
Yeah, which I thought was a good apology, a good statement, I thought.
Yeah. Some people will never be happy, and some people were happy with it. And some people just felt like it wasn't enough, that, he didn't specifically say, I am sorry, I feel horrible, I'm sorry I did this. He basically said he did it, and those stories are true, and that he fucked up, and he thought that he thought that by them saying yes, that was okay, but meanwhile, he took advantage of the fact they admired him.
Yeah, and
he
he expressed regret.
Yes.
People are like, but like you said, people are going to be unhappy no matter what.
No matter what. Now, even if he said, I am sorry, that's not good enough. You're only sorry because you got caught. Like people, they're always going to have, there's some people that are just not empathetic. And this is what I really got very angry about with the leak of the recording. I'm like, yeah, it's not his best material. Of course it's not. Hasn't done comedy in 10 months. Like when I was hearing it from other comedians, I'm like, how do you do this?
Right.
Don't you do the same thing we do?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? He's a fucking person. He's a human being.
Yes.
He's a year and a half of him being stared at everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And fucked with. He gets it.
And losing friends.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah. But those friends, if he lost some friends, he's better off. If he lost friends because of that, like if that was Ari, I would call him up. Like if there was a New York Times article about Ari jerking off in front of people, I'd be like, bro, I'm a little hurt. You never jerked off in front of me. I'd be like, I would, if he's like, I fucked up. Like I've had conversations with Ari about things where, he's like, I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. It was a bitch move. Like he'll tell you.
Yeah.
Like you can't do anything. Like once you're my friend, like, unless you're out there murdering kids or something, or doing something really fucked up, or actually raping someone.
Yeah.
Any friends that Louis lost for that? Like, come on, man. What did you think? Did you think he was a perfect person? He's a nut. He's a maniac. He's a goddamn professional comedian.
Right.
Yeah,
we're flawed people.
Yeah, that's how it all comes out good. It's like there's got to be something fucked up about your head where you can come up with these... and. Another one that drives me crazy is these guys who are freaks and they're out of their fucking mind off stage, but on stage they have like sort of a more squeaky clean thing, and their public thing is more squeaky clean, and they're judgmental about it. I'm like, oh my God. Like, please stop. You're fucking crazy as anybody. You just have a good squeaky clean act. So shut your hole.
Yeah, sometimes I think the people with the cleanest acts are the wildest animals.
It's often the case.
Yeah.